good morning, and welcome to Dualitea. I'm your host, Ash, and I'm here. I'm back, and I have red hair. So there's that. Well, today's topic, we're going to get into how to discern between a want and a need. And that's been kind of like the theme and topic for the past few weeks, if not month. And what I've noticed about myself is that, you know, a lot of times it's easy to get confused between what it is that we want and what it is that we need. And in very like plain terms, if you look up the definition, a need is something that you have to acquire in order to survive and to move forward. And then a want is something that you desire in order to make life the way you'd like it to be. So I was having a good conversation with one of my close friends, and he was saying how, you know, a lot of times we look at wants as less important than needs. And sometimes we can have exactly what we need. You know, we could have, in bare terms, like a house, a place to live, food, water, and whatever it is, the real basic stuff that we need. But in other times, we might not feel like it's either enough or that we feel good to move forward in that. And what I mean by that is, we might not need, say, emotional stability in order to survive in a certain light, right? Like, because we can live, we can get up, and we can still figure it out. But at the same time, like, if we pivot the perspective and start looking at it as what is the optimal environment for me to live and what do I need to live optimally, then that's kind of the gray area where it could be looked at as needs are wants and wants are needs. And it could look and feel different for every particular person. And something that I've been learning within the past few weeks is to not get caught up in the definitions and to kind of feel into, like, what is it that I need right now? Like, what do I need from myself to move forward? What do I need from my environment to move forward and to live optimally? Because surviving is good, and I'm grateful that I've survived this long. I'm grateful that I've been able to, acquire tools and learn how to survive in different environments and different spaces, right? But I'm looking to expand my life and start to thrive. So with that, it's kind of revisiting different structures and different, what is it called? I want to say routines. Well, routines as well, but different. It's something. It's a word, and I'm not getting it, but it's okay. But it's essentially like different pathways, like different ways of movement, right? Different spaces and times and places and people, and like, what do I want in my life? In order to find out what you need, you have to also understand what you want. It just goes interchangeable. So the point of me bringing this up today in conversation, and specifically today being it's July 13th, Wednesday, 2022, and it's the full moon in Capricorn. We're in Cancer season. Capricorn and Cancer are sister signs. They're opposite of each other. So Cancer is that sign that's let me express my emotions and feel into them, but then also protect my vulnerability. And Capricorn is, okay, how can I materialize this into my reality? How can I take this and move forward with it? So if we look at that as far as like the energy that's surrounding us, not only today, but kind of in this month, we're looking at, especially during this full moon, like, what are systems is the word. What are systems that I can kind of clean up, and defrag and just kind of run a pipe cleaner through it to get any muck that might have accumulated over different views and experiences in life, to kind of make a clear pathway for me to get from point A to B, right? Because Capricorn energy is very logical. It's like, okay, I have this task. This is what I need to get it done, and Cancer is like, I have to feel like I want to get that done. I need to feel safe in myself and in my own environment, in my body and my mind, to move forward with that. So how do we appease both of these energies? Whether you have any of these astrological signs or not within your chart, we have all signs within our chart. And essentially it's just the energy of the world at this time. So you don't have to get too caught up on the names, the titles, the zodiacs. It's more so we're dealing with emotions and we're dealing with systems that help us to materialize those emotions, right? If we feel we want success, shout out to Dualitea. If we feel we want success, we have to understand what success looks like for us and then start to materialize what that's going to appear like in our life. And in doing so, that requires moments of reflection and moments of action. So sitting with, but not too long, but sitting with, okay, what is the next step? Sometimes life can be overwhelming. Sometimes we're dealing with a bunch of different stuff at once. It's hard to say that we're not constantly feeling like that, especially in this day and age with everything that's going on in the world. Nonetheless, our own personal lives, but societally and collectively, there's just so much happening. So we're multitasking with our ability to digest what we're consuming, especially if, talking about the last podcast that was on, we were talking about disconnecting to reconnect. If we don't have those periods of disconnecting to reconnect with ourselves, then we're kind of just floating. We're kind of just in the air and we're just juggling whatever is surrounding us or whatever's thrown at us. So when we take the conscious decision and make that conscious choice to start, okay, well, I have a paintbrush. What do I want to paint my picture as? It's okay to kind of like let life, put things onto your canvas. But like, how are you going to make it look like what you want it to? You have a painting outside and maybe some rain gets on it. Maybe some flowers fall onto it. Some grass stains get onto it. It's beautiful. Or it could be chaotic. It could be exactly what you don't want. Or it could be exactly what you were looking for. Either way, how are you going to make it your own? How are you going to co-create with what is given to you? And that's really the basis of what this episode and podcast is on. And truly what I feel like this full moon is kind of illuminating is like, we have to, in order for us to understand what we want or need, we need to connect with ourselves. Because if we don't connect with ourselves, then how could we possibly understand what it is that we need? When we're going through those lows where we're feeling like, I don't want to move. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to get out of the car. I don't want to do this. And you're just dreading everything. Taking a moment and be like, well, what do I need right now? I understand everything's overwhelming. And I love you. I'm here with you. What do you need? Talking to yourself. It could be a cup of water. It could be some fruit. It could be a conversation, with yourself or with others. But only you know what it is that you need. Only you can figure out what it is, because no matter how much people may think they know you or think they understand or think they know what you need or what you want, ultimately you're the only person who actually has access to that information because it lies within yourself. So within that could look different for everybody and how you can get in tune with that. And for anyone who hasn't listened to the previous podcast, I strongly recommend listening to that. I just got back onto Staten Island a little while ago, and I touched base on it a little bit before I left and while I was still away in the previous podcast. But I just want to talk a little bit about, not all about, but just a little bit about my experience in saying that I fasted. And when I say I fasted, I mean I went without. And when I say I went without, I mean I went without all of my needs. So what that looked like is hyper survival mode coming out. When you don't have food or water or the comfort of your own bed or people to talk to, things get a little weird. You know what I mean? Like, things could get a little crazy. But things tend to get kicked up before they get clear. And in that process, for me, I learned a lot about myself in the sense of I tend to move very quickly. And I don't think that that's solely because I live on Staten Island in New York, and that, everything is fast paced, like we live in a city. So it is innately in my nature. But I was thinking back, and there's a point of the podcast. I was re-listening to the podcast last night, this morning, whatever. And there was a moment where I kind of unpacked this thing as it was coming, and it was kind of like the explanation of ADHD for me, right? And when we find comfort in getting lost in the distractions, it becomes this ritual, like this habit that we do all the time. And when we're doing that unintentionally, we're kind of leaving ourselves, right? We're leaving what we might be feeling or thinking. And in those moments that we leave, there's just absence. So we don't have the comfort of ourselves. So we start developing these coping mechanisms that involve other things outside of us and other people outside of us. And in those processes, that could feel lonely. That could feel unfulfilling. Of course, it'll work for a bit. Of course, if it doesn't work, we'll find another thing. But what I'm learning right now is like my cure, my antidote is like giving myself attention. Because when I pay attention, I pay attention. Like, I pay full attention to something. And if I allow myself to surrender to it. And I was reflecting at my time away, like how much, even when I am alone, that I've created these structures, these systems in my mind, that even when I'm alone, I'm with other people because of how much space they take up in my mind, in my head, in my body, in my emotions. And in that, I've been just trying to like back up a little bit and just being like, okay, but that's not me. Okay, but I can't do anything about that. You give it to God, you give it to Creator, whatever feels right for you. You give it back to nature, whatever term resonates. And then you go back to yourself. And you're like, that's cool that I thought about this person and this scenario and that case and this thing and these experiences, but like, where am I at right now? Like, where am I at right now? And there's little cues that we can do to kind of like tap into that for ourselves. That might be like pinching our pinky or like grabbing our earlobe or like, doing something, like touching a part of our body that gets us back into it. Because once we start going into our mind and we're like, what if, and this and that, and we're like going on a whole journey, our body's just waiting for us to come back. So how can we expect to, take steps forward when we're not even in our body and we're in our mind and we're 10 miles down the road thinking about all these other things that we could have been doing, we should have did, that we should have said, or whatever the case is, living in an other reality. Like, it's like we're literally living in another reality when we allow ourselves to go so far off. Not to say that those aren't good side missions, because I know that that's brought me a lot of muse, and it's brought me a lot of understanding of people and humanity, and it's definite, and of myself in its own way. But right now I'm feeling really called to kind of reel back every time I start going too far and remind myself that I have 10 toes and 10 fingers, and I'm grateful for each function of all of them. And then start feeling into what it is that I need to do next. What is the test? Test seems a lot less overwhelming when we're actually listening to what we need to do next, not assuming what we should or what we could have done and how we could have done it better. When we just surrender to the moment in the fact of like, okay, well, I'm really overwhelmed because I didn't fold my clothes. So maybe I should fold my clothes. Oh, I should fold my clothes. If I fold my clothes, I'm going to feel better because that's what I'm overwhelmed by. But if we're just like, my clothes are bothering me, let me pick up my phone and scroll because I don't even want to look at it because it's giving me so much anxiety. Like, the more we avoid the things that are impeding on us, the more power we're giving them. So it's uncomfortable to confront things at times. It's liberating to confront things at times. Depends on the things, depends on how you feel, depends on the person. But I strongly recommend just, tuning into what it is that you need. Maybe if not, like, sometimes long-term goals or even short-term goals can just, like, give me anxiety and make me overwhelmed because I'm like, oh, it needs to be perfect. I need to make sure that I'm speaking exactly what I want into existence, not anything less or anything more. And I'm like, well, that's a lot of pressure. Why don't you just, are you hungry? Like, are you tired? You feeling happy? You want to dance a little bit? Where are you at? And just doing those check-ins, man. It's like, it's something so simple, but yeah, we make very complicated because of our own, ways of being at times. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to look down. I have this book that talks about the different moon placements. And there's some things that it recommends to do during Capricorn full moon. Anyone who is local, you're more than welcome to attend the moon meeting that is going to be here at Hub 17 at 8 p.m. tonight. It's donation based, and everyone and anything, you're welcome to come, and recommend bringing water, maybe some fruit. I've been feeling like big on talking about fruit, so if that resonates, bring some of that. But yeah, so some things to do when the moon is in Capricorn is making plans, doing your taxes, a work project, starting some home remodeling, refinancing your home, reorganizing your closet or garage, meet with your financial planner, delegate even if you're overwhelmed, taking one step at a time like a mountain goat, starting a diet or joining the gym, getting a chiropractor adjustment or massage. And, there's other things on here, but I'm not going to get into all of them. And I feel called to read one question. There's about 10 question prompts. And I'm going to read number 7. And this is a question that you can take with yourself, throughout your day, or revisit whenever you listen to this podcast, whenever it finds you, if it feels good. Or you could do it now. So the question is, do you feel awkward in a new or unfamiliar situation, or put up barriers to avoid feeling unsafe? What would help you feel safer? That's a big one. I know for me, what helps me feel safer is getting out of my head and into my body. Once again, that's been the big thing that's coming up for me, is like, when I'm in my head and I'm thinking about how people are perceiving me or how I'm looking, or worrying about the external factors that I have no control over, is when I feel unsafe. But when I feel safe is when I'm like, well, I know why I'm here. I know my intention. I know why I'm speaking on the topics that I am, why I'm not speaking on the topics that I'm not. And I feel power in that because I had a kind of business meeting conversation with myself about it, right? So that's how you could be prepared, is by simply just checking in with yourself, talking to yourself, seeing what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then asking yourself why. And then seeing also, like, there's certain things that don't feel safe that we need to apply a little bit of pressure. Certain things in general aren't safe. Every time we walk across the street, it's not necessarily the safest experience for us to have or go through, but we check both ways. You might check both ways twice. Whatever you feel you need to do to cross that street, but God forbid, anything could still happen. Things fall from the sky the moment we walk outside. Nothing is ever promised, but nothing is ever really safe, and nothing's ever really not safe. And I think the best way that we could prepare for things is to listen to ourselves, because when we're ignoring ourselves, we're disconnected from ourselves. And when we're disconnected from ourselves, we're disconnected from the environments around us that are surrounding us, constantly giving us signs and signals to do the next thing, to bring us into safety. Because when we attune to ourselves and we remember that we are a part of nature, yes, we go into nature, but we also go into nature the moment we decide we want to have a meditation. We go into nature the moment we decide that I want to feel emotion that I'm feeling, and not stay there forever and wallow in it, but also allow myself for it to come in and visit. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about, that allowing yourself to have progress over perfection, and having compassion for when you just don't know. Sometimes we just don't know, and we want to move quick, fast, and we want to be super speedy. There's something that was like a theme in one of my dreams that I had recently, was like, I harmed my pet and people around me because I was rushing. When we rush, we're trying to appease something outside of us, and yes, it could be considerate, we could be running late, but what's most important is for us to be present with ourselves to get to wherever we need to go. If you get there late, that's whatever, you'll figure it out. Next time you can move accordingly and leave earlier, but at least you get there, because if you don't, then you never know what could happen. So something I was thinking about when I was on fast a lot. There's a song, it's called Slow Down by Bobby Valentino, for y'all that know that song. I kept on singing it to myself, and it's like, slow down, I just want to get to know you, right? That's the part, there's other parts, but slow down and get to know yourself. Yeah, that's what I gotta say about the podcast part. So moving into the astrological part, I've been feeling called to do some readings, and I'm going to pull cards for each astrological sign. So keep in mind, for the astrology heads, if you have a moon sign or a rising, whatever you're feeling into, like for example, like you might listen to your sun sign and it could have little pieces that resonate. But if you're really feeling into your emotions right now and your mental, your moon sign might be the sign that you want to listen to more. If you're feeling like you're more in your body, your sun sign is what you want to be listening to more. And if you're kind of like looking outside of yourself and seeing why the things outside of yourself, how they're interacting with you, then you might want to view or listen to your rising. So with that being said, I want to put the prayer out there and the intention that I'm pulling cards and sharing messages for what this full moon in Capricorn is showing to us and revealing to us in a good way for anyone who listens to this at any point. May it resonate. May whatever resonates you keep, and whatever doesn't you leave. And the purpose of me doing this is not to tell anyone about themselves, more so just as a reminder that we all need sometimes. So I pray to be a conduit for those messages that you need to be reminded of, that can bring you clarity and safety within yourself and all that good stuff. So let's get into it. So we're going to start with Aries. We're going to do it the traditional way. So Aries placements. What is it that you need to center, and what is being shown to you during this time at this full moon that will benefit you to feel safe within your body, your mind, your spirit, and bring clarity? Okay. So what's coming up for Aries is there's this sense of sometimes we pause and we reflect, and sometimes we move forward really fast. And right now, what's coming up for Aries is, or Aries placements, is that there's a certain part of yourself that is asking to kind of come out and step forth and materialize in your life. And it might feel scary. Um, it's feeling like some of you guys might be, I want to say, procrastinating a little bit. And that's okay, because you're doing what you need to do to make yourself feel safe. So having compassion for yourself, but also giving yourself a little kick in the ass, because moving forward is like really, really, really exciting and exhilarating and scary all at once. But there's something that you know you should move forward with, whether that's separating something or bringing something in. And I really, really think that you would benefit from no longer reflecting. You've done a lot of reflection, but like actually bringing it to fruition and supporting yourself, like supporting yourself the way you support others around you. Because this is like, there's different times and different periods where things heighten, and right now there's like a heightened moment. You know what to do. This opportunity is here. It could go away, but it'll come back. Anything that is for you will come back. But just know that it's not to move with urgency, but with certainty that you're making the right decision, right? Duality. Duality came out for Aries. So everything that's kind of coming out in this reading right now is about finding balance. All of the cards that came out are all balancing cards. So in that, just allowing yourself to feel, like sometimes we swing from extremes in order to find the middle ground. Don't feel guilty about that. That's a tool that you use. Like, you'll get better at it. That's okay. If that's what's working for you, in order for you to figure out what it is that you actually want, go with it. You know what I mean? Don't hold back in shame, or like, I could have done this better, I could do that better. Like, you're figuring it out. You're not going to have it perfect. That's the beauty of it, because we learn a lot of things in our mistakes or in our side missions. You get to collect more orbs or different tools when you go on your side missions, and then you can ultimately kind of win the game, or complete your mission with even more stats than you thought you could. So that's the message for y'all. One thing that I'm going to pull as far as self-care says plan a vacation. It doesn't mean that you're going to go away to another country necessarily, but it's also like allowing yourself to make a plan for the future, something that you should do, and I feel like it should be by yourself. So giving yourself the space for that. Yeah, that's Aries. So in short, listen to what it is that you want to materialize. There's this back and forth, this polarity within yourself. Know that you can encompass all. You don't have to be one way or the other. You're allowed to be all things at once. And find what your yin and yang looks like. Find your balance, yeah. So that's Aries. Next sign is going to be Taurus. What is it that Taurus needs right now during this full moon? What is it that Taurus needs at this time, or is to surrender to or look at? Okay. So balance is coming up for everybody, which, natural order and things of life. But in this way, it's a little bit different. It's about juggling two different aspects, like could be finances or personal time, or it could be how you are spending your time with yourself and with others. There's this dance that's kind of happening that you're learning to juggle, but rather than juggling, you can also just realize that you don't need to throw it up in the air. You can just kind of look at it, because it's two things, right? You kind of hold it in your hand and look at it. Maybe juggling isn't working for you anymore. Your arms are getting tired. It's time to pay attention to the fact that you have everything that you need. You know, like you got the most abundant card that came up for yourself. Like everything you need is around you. And it's like really good time, like super, super fertile time for you to create whatever it is that you want around you. It's going to require a different form of thinking. That's kind of the next step of what's coming up. It's like, if you, for you to understand that you, yes, you might have all of your needs met, but what are your wants? And you are so deserving of them. So maybe shift a little bit of your mindset and make that space, because once you make that space, you can provide. I know, Taurus, you always want to be there for everybody, but you got to provide for yourself too. And the more you provide for yourself, the more that you're able to actually give to other people. So yeah, listen to that. What is it that we're letting go of, Taurus? Okay. So as far as self-care goes, spending time with animals, you know, that could look like your pets at home. That could look like, you know, maybe going outside and just like observing birds, or looking at deers, or wherever you're located, you know, tuning in with the animals that surround you. And even the bugs, you know, just getting in tune with the other creatures that, you know, take up a good part of our world, and maybe observing how they go about their lives too, you know, because there's a lot of things that we don't understand about animals, and then there's a lot of things that we innately are as human beings and also as animals within our own right. So something that could be beneficial right now to let go of is fear of intimacy. And intimacy is support and trust, that we feel safe to be close with another, right? That could be ourselves. We could also be not super open to being intimate with ourselves. And that doesn't necessarily have to just be like sexual. That could be having that closeness of just being with yourself, no phone, no nothing, in a room, and seeing how you are. And like we were talking about before, that escapism that kind of brings us outside and into different places, kind of calming that and bringing yourself in the moment, which I think even just going to the park and just observing animals, or spending time with your plants. Well, I said that for a reason, so could be your plants too. Just spending time in nature, you know, and nurturing yourself is something that I'm seeing coming up for Taurus. So yeah, hope that finds you well. Moving to the next sign, which is Gemini and Gemini placements. What is it that Gemini needs at this time to find clarity during this full moon in a good way like that? What is it that Gemini needs from themselves? Oh, okay. Interesting. Similar to Aries, but different. So right now, what is coming up for Gemini is allowing yourself to materialize things. It's like, you know, you've been thinking, you know, you've been planning, you've seen all the different scenarios, all of the different complexes, all of the pros, all the cons. But it's almost like, rather than going out and like forcing, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this happen, understanding that you already did. Like, it's right here. Like, it's right here. Like, you could just kind of like release it, if that makes sense. You know, you've already materialized it to, like, I'd say like 50 to 75%. Now it's just about allowing the space to let it go. The Lovers came up in reverse, and this could hit for two different things and two different kinds of people. So remember, this is also Gemini placement, so not only just Gemini Sun. There might be something coming up in relationships, not only intimate and but also platonic, and then also the relationship with yourself. And right now, there's a lot of strength that is surrounding you and supporting whatever you feel you need to do, whether that is move away from someone or something, or, you know, move towards, you could look at it as moving closer to yourself, right? There's a lot of yellow in these cards. There's a lot of solar plexus in these cards. And it's only becoming more and more in each of the location of them. And ending off with the strength card, where there's this gentle human that is opening up a lion's mouth gently and calmly, knowing that they have the infinite strength because they're in tune with themselves. They're in tune with themselves and they're listening to themselves. And if they didn't feel that they can go over to this, you know, untamed beast and move with grace, then they wouldn't. But they listen to themselves and they're doing something pretty freaking scary, right? But they're doing it in a really good way. So, yeah. I think that there is like it's like exciting for Gemini, but also I understand how it could be really uncomfortable. So make sure you give yourself compassion in this transition. Compassion being not only understanding and safety within yourself, but also discipline in following up and honoring what you know you need to do. Aromatherapy is something that could be beneficial at this time. So getting into essential oils, different scents, maybe even going outside if you garden or if you have any plants, and just like getting intimate with the plants in the sense of like rubbing a leaf, smelling it, seeing how it feels for you, what it makes you feel like, and just getting in tune with smells right now could be really beneficial. Lavender, always, always, always up on the top of the charts if you're feeling any kind of stress. You know, if you feel like you need a little pick-me-up in the morning, citrus is great for that. If some mental clarity, you know, rosemary is incredible to help clear your mind, or any kind of mints, you know, camphor or menthols, peppermint, things like that. So just getting into that, but also just trusting yourself. You might just be like, yo, I need jasmine. Like, that's what you need. Listen to that. You know, Geminis, y'all are an antenna, so just learn what is your frequency and not everybody else's radio station. You know, you have to figure out what is your radio station so that you're not picking up other people's feedback and you're actually getting clear on what yours is. So, final thing is allow yourself to feel joy, even in the parts that don't feel that good. You know, you could have a really shitty day, but then your favorite song comes on and you're like, fuck, I needed this. It's okay to feel joy. It's okay to, even when you're grieving or you're upset or you're scared or you're not sure where to go, like, you might get a little piece of joy in that, and you don't have to feel guilty about experiencing it. So that's for you guys. Moving into Cancer and Cancer placements. What is it that Cancers need to, and Cancer placements need to pay attention to at this time? Okay, so Cancer placements. The first thing is the Hanged Man came out, but it's not. So the Hanged Man card is a card where the human is tied to a post and they're upside down, right? So when it's upright, it's kind of like this not knowing where to go, kind of just feeling like you can't move anywhere, right? But when it's flipped up this way, it's like, okay, well, I'm not upside down anymore. I can choose to untie my feet. Why am I still staying here? Like, why am I still in the same place when I know that I can just move my feet forward? And that could be coming up out of fear of moving in either direction. But the supportive energy that's coming up following that is the Fool. And the Fool is the beginning and the end. It's the energy of taking the journey. The entire tarot deck would not exist without the Fool going on their journey and just kind of looking over the cliff and being like, I got my little bag on my shoulder and I got my dog with me. I got a rose in my hand. I got this like feather in my hair. Like I'm chilling. Like I'm looking at the sun. Looks sunny today. I'm going to do what I need to do. And just trusting that, trusting that you don't need to stay secured to a space or a mind frame that just isn't working for you anymore. And that could look different than you imagine. Like that could look different than you anticipate. That doesn't mean that everything in your reality has to shift in one way or another. But just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I could do this and I can do that. But like this in between, I don't really want to do that because that's just like another way of not committing to something. So making the commitment, making that commitment, whatever that looks like for you. And although the Fool is the beginning and the end, and it could feel like extremes and uprooting, it doesn't always have to. And the card coming after that has to do with nostalgia and memories. Just because you want memories to... Just because you have memories doing certain things or being a certain way doesn't mean that you have to exist in those memories, and allow yourself to move forward and not just stay in the past and not just stay or get stuck on the future, because that's the Hanged Man. That's where we're at. Like the Fool, just be more like the Fool. And I know it could be hard, Cancer placements, because it could be extremely uncomfortable and you want to just kind of like go with what feels safe and nurture yourself. But there's no growth in comfort, and everything around us, if we witness nature, is always getting uncomfortable, going into a cocoon, creating some kind of metamorphosis in order to get where you need to go. So just allowing yourself to embrace that change and whatever that looks like for you, something that could be beneficial as far as self-care, soaking in a bath, which I love that for us. Soaking in a bath is a great way, not only just like, okay, I'm going to sit in this bath and it's going to be super pretty and I'm going to make it like super aesthetic and things of that sort. It's also like, I'm going to allow myself to sit in water. Like, what is water? Water is a conduit. Water is our emotions and our feelings. So maybe if you're feeling real heavy, or maybe if you're feeling real good, whatever you're feeling, maybe you're feeling neutral, allow yourself to just sit in that. Disconnect, away from the phone, away from whatever, and just bring whatever it is you feel you need around you, whether that's a candle, an incense, a book, or nothing. And just create. Make yourself a tea. Like, take some herbs, get fun with it. Go pick some flowers, throw them in your bath, and adorn yourself. And while you're in that space of taking that bath, allow yourself to be with whatever comes up. Another card that had came up and an energy that had came up is third chakra, which is solar plexus chakra. Allowing yourself to remove whatever does not empower you, knowing that, externally that will be removed. Like that, you don't even have to worry about that, because whatever we start to remove on the inside, or whatever we start to call forth on the inside, appears in our reality outside of us. So right now it's like really getting clear about our bellies, right? Our solar plexus, and like what we're consuming, not only food wise, but like what are we holding in that place of like, what is your self-worth based upon? Reflecting on that, I think, would be really beneficial. And then learning to understand that and seeing if you agree with it still, or if you feel like your worth is based in another place, and then just watch your reality change. Because really what this reading is showing up is like, you have the ability to change your environment through your internal environment, which we all do. But specifically for Cancers, there's something that's coming up for you to, I think that Cancer placements a lot of times thinks that because we feel everything so deeply that we understand emotions, and that we understand our emotions to a certain caliber. Um, but that doesn't mean that there's no space for us to intellectualize our emotions. So giving the space to actually feel them and then deciding where you want to go with that. So it's Cancer. Moving forward to Leo and Leo placements. What is it that you guys may need to look at right now that could be beneficial for you this time of your life and for this full moon? Okay. So first thing is surrendering to the fact that there's a lot going on outside. There's this energy of almost paranoia. It could be that our minds are running rampant with the external. And how could they not? You know, look at the world around us. So I think first and foremost, taking time to disconnect from certain forms of consumption, such as the news, or even talking to certain people that don't make us feel good at this time, and really getting, really tuning into that Queen of Wands energy, because that's what y'all got right in the center. You know, it's like, I am queen, I am royalty. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what direction I'm looking at. I could look on the side too. I got my cat that's watching my back, and I'm trying to smell the sunflowers. I'm trying to, you know, be yellow. What does be yellow mean? You know, it's like confident, playful. You don't need to worry about that shit. You know, that whatever is that pestering voice in your mind that is like talking about all of the things that you could like shouldn't do because of fear of something else. Like, of course, with discernment, there's certain things. If you feel you should not be in a place, don't go. But if you're concerning yourself, like if you're concerning your pretty little head about the opinions or how you're going to be perceived in a space because of maybe places you've been or places you're at, or where other people are, like fuck that. Like, just fuck that. You don't need that shit. Like, that's just, you're moving out of that and into this really confident place. But remind yourself, don't get caught up in waiting for that. You know, like, you have all of these fruits growing on your tree. And if you're just sitting there waiting for them to be ripe, like, okay, but like, you're green, but I need you to be yellow because I'd like to eat you. And I've been waiting so long to eat this tomato, but like, you're taking so long. If we're focusing on that, then we're missing the fact that the one under it is already yellow and it's already waiting for you. But if we're focusing on one thing and we're like hyper fixated on the expectation of what we want it to be, we're not allowing it to take form within ourselves. And apply that to yourself. Play that back and apply that to yourself. Right now, speaking positive affirmations to you, to yourself in the mirror, and just in general, or even when you catch yourself like overthinking about something or feeling nervous or, you know, anxious about something, be like, yo, like, I'm a bad bitch. Like, I don't know, like, where I forgot that. Like, hold on, let me just remind myself real quick. Okay, cool. Or I'm just like, I'm a great person. I know my intentions. Like, it could be simple sentences or whatever it is that you want to say. Whatever feels right. It doesn't have to necessarily be the quote unquote like affirmations, or it could be. You could be like, I am safe. Like, why? Like, I don't need to sit there and be like, why don't I feel good about that? Nah, I'm safe. Like, I'm good. I got me. Y'all don't have to have me. I got me. I'm not even going to feel bad about that because y'all probably don't have yourselves, but I'm not even going to get into that because that's not me. So I'm going to focus on me and I got me. So this don't feel good. I'm going to move over here. Some of y'all may benefit from energy healing right now. That doesn't necessarily mean you got to go see a Reiki healer. It means that you could potentially be one. You know, it doesn't have to be Reiki. It could be just like understanding that you can work in that realm. I find that Leos sometimes struggle, or Leo placements in general, can struggle with the capacity to know that the way mysticism may come to y'all in a certain way is just, it's different because it could be very like visceral rather than like super metaphysical, right? So you might not be able to hear or see things, but like you'll innately know like what to do when the situation happens. So like just going with that, taking some time in the sun, taking some time in the moon, balancing yourself. Do that. Whatever that means for you. Energy healing. And the final message is presence. Pay attention to yourself. Give yourself the amount of attention that you deserve, that you need, and that you require, knowing that you are not in a space like you're not extra for tending to yourself more. Of course, balancing, like knowing that, okay, I'm going to tend to myself right now, but maybe even just expressing that to people can negate that like selfish stigma, because sometimes when people are needing something from you, if you just simply say like, hey, yo, like I can't right now because I really need this from me. I would love to do that, but I really need this from me. But once I'm done with this, I'll gladly come help you. And it's just like vocalizing presence, right? Vocalizing what it is that you need from yourself, where you don't feel guilty too, because sometimes y'all be feeling guilty, and I can say myself too because I don't leave rides, but like, you feel guilty that you're prioritizing yourself. And just communicate it. Some of y'all might not feel like you need to. You don't have to either, but I know for me, I'd be feeling guilty, so I'm just going to put that out there. So that's for Leo. Hope that finds y'all well. Speak positively to yourself. Okay, Virgo and Virgo placements. What is it that Virgo and Virgo placements need to hear right now during this full moon? Okay. So right now, something that is coming up for Virgos and Virgo placements is taking the time to look out into the world and see what part you play in it. So there's this card. It's the Two of Wands. And it has to do with, it's like the person's looking over into the distance, right? And they're holding the world in their hands. So it's like the world's literally in your palm. So what are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to do with the fact that, with the understanding that whatever it is that you want can manifest? Like, how are you going to sit with that level of understanding and power within yourself, not in an arrogant way, but in a humble way and in a grateful way? Like, knowing that it requires a change of mind and a change of pace, because you have wands, which are fiery, and it's the spiritual card in the tarot, right? It's the spirit, it's the intuition, it's the passion. The card is gray, so it's like right now you might be feeling like you're in a neutral space and looking towards things that bring you passion that you can generate from within yourself. Something that also might be coming up right now for any Virgo placements is like the feeling like the need to generate strength in order to process, in order to move forward. Like, I need to develop more strength. Like, all right, like maybe I need to go to the gym more and like work out these muscles before I can go to run this marathon. Or, I need to prepare myself before I can move forward. But it's like, how I see it right here is like you're prepared, like you're good. It's about believing that and trusting that and forgiving the times that you didn't believe that. There's a forgiveness is coming up, and it's a white card with gold surrounding it. So finding that space to forgive yourself and others, and situations and places and decisions that you just don't have control over. And if they're of yourself, you don't have control over them anymore because they already happened. So giving that forgiveness and understanding what your priorities are to move forward for what it is that you actually want. Being still is what the self-care is for y'all. And literally that, just being still. taking the time to just like lay down, maybe somewhere that's not necessarily like the most comfortable, because sometimes when we lay down where it's comfortable, we just kind of like get comfortable and get into the comfort zone, right? But it shows a woman laying down on like a yoga mat in the stars, right? So maybe taking a yoga mat and laying down in a field and looking at the stars and just completely disconnecting from everything and everyone to see what comes up for you in that place. Because it seems like there's like this subtle, almost like what is it, like an undertow, like there's an undertow of this power, right? But I mean it in a good way. So if like if the undertow was to take us exactly where we need to go to progress in our life, that's what I mean. Not an undertow in the ocean that's going to take us and have us drown and die. So I want to clarify on that. Like there's an undertow that's like, once you allow yourself to surrender to this like abyss of yourself that isn't surrounded by I don't want to say sorrow, but more so absence of belief, you could find it. So pay attention to that. I hope that finds you well. So where we are, Virgo, Libra. Yeah. Okay. For Libra and Libra placements, what is it that you need to hear? What is your message for this full moon? All right. Well, okay. Yeah. So I just want to say it's interesting when doing everyone's signs back to back, because then you can see the commonalities of what we're all experiencing, and then also what we're experiencing individually, because there's some cards that are just coming out back to back to back. So interesting. So what's coming up right now for Libra? Excuse me. Wow, that's yum. Did you have some of your tea, Kenny? That's good. That's good. Shout out to Ava for the fresh peppermint and chamomile. It's super yum. And the local honey. Shout out to the local honey guy. I forgot his name, but the Stapleton honey. Okay. So Libra and Libra placements. What's coming up at this time? There's a lot of nostalgia in the air, and it's not just for you, it's for everyone, but for you in particular, it came out as the first card. So there's a strong polarity in this reading. And the message I want to kind of put into a sentence and be as concise as I can is make sure that when you're allowing yourself to channel, and what I mean by channel is not only in the mystical way, but reaching your flow state and going into that natural, wave, right, that happens when things start to click together. To make sure that we are not getting caught up on the way that we used to do things, right? And getting clear on what can be coming in to distract us from what is actually trying to make space. So like, when like a false gods, in a way, I want to say false gods, right? It's like there's an energy of you're in this flow and everything seems like it's clicking, and it is. and it is. But trusting yourself and holding your integrity are going to be the keys to make sure, because there are things, just like everybody else, there's things in the path that come out. Um, but it's not so much an external thing, it's an internal thing. Like feeling that sometimes, we may think that we're going about something a new way, but it could be an old way in a different disguise. So being integral, trusting your intuition, and coming out of the closet is one of the cards that came out. So whatever that means for you. And just to kind of give a little bit more space to integrity, the energy of integrity supports our choice to be consistent, truthful, and honest while being guided at a high moral standards. Having our intuition being centered as your self-care, like the best thing that you can do for self-care is intuition. Just once again, like if y'all didn't listen to last week's episode, please do. Please do. And it's just like really affirming all of that. But it's all in all, it's a really good reading. It's like take heed. Not everything that's coming up is coming up in a way that is meant for to be kept in your reality. It's coming up to show a different face so that you can learn how to also navigate that and realize what that feels like, even though it could look different, what that feels like, so that you can continue to make space. And the best way that you do that is just honoring your integrity and your intuition. So yeah, that's Libra. After Libra, we got Scorpio. What is it that Scorpio needs in full moon? Choose peace. Scorpio, what do you need to center right now? Okay. Scorpio and Scorpio placements. This is coming out a little chaotic. Okay. So there's some things happening, Scorpio. There's 2 things that came out. So there's technically like 3 things that came out. So we're gonna get into it. All right. So what it's showing is that some Scorpio and or Scorpio placements might be feeling a lot of grief, a lot of upset, like your heart hurts. Something's keeping you up at night. Almost feeling like you've moved forward with things that you thought were right for you, but they're not feeling fulfilling. And although this might be a really hard or transitional time for you, you're literally born to have transitional times. Not that might be the best thing to say, but it's just like what I'm trying to say is like you're literally built for it. So although at times it might feel helpless or, a lot, just finding the middle ground in the way of like exactly what this podcast has been centered around, just like what do I need to check in with myself in order to do what I need to do, right? Choosing peace. There's like this energy that's coming up within friendships and things that aren't clicking. And it's okay. Sometimes we go through these friendships and there's turbulence. And it's made to either for our friendships and our relations to evolve together. And sometimes it's meant because, maybe it's just the end of the chapter with that person, or maybe they'll come back at another point. But not clinging to an outcome is going to be super beneficial for you. Paying attention to your dreams at this time, keeping a dream journal is really important. I also highly encourage you to take that bath and listen to your intuition, because that is the tool that's coming up to like stand up for yourself and listen to your intuition. There are things that you may innately know that don't have any tangible backup to it. I'm not saying take that and run with it, but I'm also not saying push that aside. You feel it. Like, it's a very visceral feeling in your gut of like, I feel like this is something that's going on. I don't know. Right now is the time of meditation and taking a pause. Everything is going to reveal itself to you. You don't really have to do anything. The only thing I would recommend you do is do what you need to do for you. Just tend to that internal. Every time everyone's trying to pull you out, because it feels like there's like kind of like maybe an invasive person, someone overstepping bounds and things like that. What you do is you just reinstate your boundaries, you honor them, you vocalize them, and you follow through with them, So yeah, y'all are gonna be good. Pay attention to your dreams though. Like, really write down your dreams. Like, keep a journal or a voice recorder right by your bed. Super, super important during this time, especially tonight. So yeah, whatever night it is that you hear this, could be, even if it's not Wednesday, the 13th, just pay attention to that. Like, the answers and the questions that you have, they're just like painted all around you. They're just in like another language, and you're learning how to translate, So have compassion for that. You can't learn a language in night, So that's Scorpio. And the next cards are for Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, what is it that you need during this full moon this time? Okay. Right now, Sagittarius, put some things down because you're going to collapse. Like, chill, right? You're holding all these sticks. You got all these things, whether it's like your passions or whether it's the literal things you're doing within your day. Like, there's a lot going on. In order for you to move forward, you're going to have to drop everything and only hold on to one. It's interesting because, you got the 10 of Wands here, right? And then you have the Hermit. The Hermit has one. The Hermit has one pole. Just interesting how that came out. And then the next card, a person has two poles, right? So how it kind of looks to me is like, there are things that you need to like put to the side, focus on something that is the most important, and then other things are going to support you to get to where you're going. So you're not putting these things away forever. You're just putting them down in order to get to the next place that you have to go. And that place is going to be very self-reflective. It's going to require a little bit of reclusion, but not in the isolation way, in the, I'm going to ask me before I call someone. I'm going to ask me before I get a reading. I'm going to ask me and talk to spirit about it before I start putting people, places, and things in front of that connection, right? And in that, there's going to be this transition of your life, and things could get worse before they get better, but just know that if you see things starting to get worse and you're doing the work, you're halfway there, So, yeah, Sag, that's pretty cool. Integrity is what's coming up for y'all, and singing. So allowing yourself to be super integral during this time, and choosing peace also is coming up for you guys. So allowing yourself to express yourself through your voice, it doesn't matter how you view yourself singing, just give space for you to use your vocal cords and literally vibrate things out, to speak, to sing, like whatever it comes, however that you internalize that message, just allowing that and choosing peace and integrity. Once again, I will put more spotlight on integrity being the energy of integrity supports the choice to be consistent, truthful, and honest while being guided by high moral standards. Choose integrity. It's a hard walk, probably the hardest one, but it's going to get you where you want to go. And I know y'all can be a little bit chaotic at times, but choose peace. Choose peace if you want to get to what you actually want. So, that's Sag. Let's get into Capricorn. And we got Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces coming up. And then we're complete with the astrology for today. So thank you guys for listening. If you listen to your sign, if you're waiting for your sign, if you've been here the whole time, I appreciate y'all. Um, yeah, just felt real called to like do this today. So here we are. So Capricorn, what is it that my caps need or Capricorn placements on this cap full moon? Certain things didn't go your way. That's okay. They weren't supposed to. Because there's like this energy of like, oh, it's all about your emotions. And I really love that for you guys. Okay, you guys got all cups cards. Okay, so things may have not went your way or the way that you'd like them to go, but they weren't supposed to because there's this like you, that the way that you want to feel is at your fingertips, and the only person that can give that to yourself is you. There is romantic love coming up for you guys. So Capricorns and Capricorn placements, y'all are interesting surrounding love, but just know that it's around, romantic love, and maybe that could be for yourself too, but it is feeling like it's coming from someone else. So, look forward to that if that feels good for you. And most importantly, I just really love how much you guys are showing up for yourself right now or getting the opportunity to. So let that be encouragement and a reminder to follow through because you deserve to. Right now, it's time to focus on your strengths and plan a vacation as well and connect with your ancestors. Maybe finding potentially looking up a vacation where whether it's the country of your homeland of your ancestors and or going to a vacation to connect where there's something that might connect towards that, even if it's not that country, if that's not accessible for you, even if it's just to go to a museum that may have things surrounding your ancestors or artwork or whatever the case is, however that feels. But I feel really excited for you guys. Yeah. Everything, like, shit might be, like, shitty for a second, but, like, it won't be as long as you just keep being there for yourself. Keep being there for yourself and keep imagining and feeling into what you want to feel like. What do you want to feel like at this time of your life? Like, what feels good for you? Yeah. So that's Capricorn. Moving into Aquarius. What is it that Aquarius is centering this time during this full moon? Wow. Well, hello. Haven't seen that card in a while. Well, let's see what's surrounding it. Okay. 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 So, Aquarius and Aquarius placements. Right now, there is this strong sense of self and this like emotional strength that you've acquired during this time, and it's changing. It's changing everything around you, and that could change like partnerships that you're in or partnerships that you might be looking to pursue. As far as romantic partnerships and romantic love, your ideals on romantic love is coming up and changing in a strong way. or they might physically be changing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for the worse. It could be for the better. Like there's the space for both. Like there's literally the duality card came on top of that. So it's some may be feeling like, all right, well, this is shifting out and then this is shifting towards, or we're growing together or we're growing apart. So yes, trust that. Trust yourself. Clear your shield and clear and shield your energy. There are things that are coming to you right now at rapid speeds, and like this open, almost it feels like the veil almost been like ripped open, and like some of y'all, like especially like Aquarius being Aquarius, it just would happen like this. It's like some of y'all have not been trying to do that, and it's just like, wow, why am I super psychic right now? And then other people are like, I've been trying to do that. Yeah, the time has come. Yes. So with that knowledge, clear and shield your energy. What can that look like? Regardless of your belief system, just like even if you want to take breaths into like almost creating like a shield around you and envisioning a shield in whatever color, whatever it looks like, whether that's taking plants and rubbing yourself down, whether that's taking a literal shower, and when you're showering, just being intentional with saying, whatever I'm going to clean off my body, may I clean it off my energy. That could be when you're walking into a room or space or your house, you wiping your feet and clearing your energy. You're just like shaking your body and just like clearing it, and protecting it, shielding it. Don't forget that after you clear it, shield it. There's some like really cool messages that are like coming up for y'all. And like, if it feels good, explore it. If it doesn't, maybe understand why, or ask yourself why you're uncomfortable with it, because it's a gift. Like y'all are being given a like spiritual gift right now. It's really cool. So the forms of self-care that are coming up is to get a health checkup and to clean your space. So it doesn't mean anything bad necessarily, it doesn't feel like it's like, it's just more so like pay attention to yourself and clean your space. Like check your inside and check your outside. And that's something that I think is really important that I want to leave off with Aquarius, is that especially in every aspect, whether it's intuitive, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, check in with yourself and then check outside of yourself as well at your environment and navigate that balance. Because, you guys can navigate a really good balance when you give yourself the platform to. So that's the message I got for y'all for this full moon Aquarius. And last but not least, Pisces. What is it that Pisces or Pisces placements should be centering at this time? Into that. Okay. First energy I want to say when it comes to Pisces is like, first thing is like mine, right? There's this energy, there's something or someone. I want to say someone because romantic love came up right above that. That you're kind of like, this is mine. I need to hold on to this. But it's like literally everything else is like, you don't. And it doesn't mean that you're getting rid of this person or you're letting them go forever or anything like that. It's just like this reading it's so clear. It's like whatever is for you will be for you. You'll never know if something's for you if you don't let it go. And that's not only with romantic love. This could be for people who are in relationships. This could also apply to people that aren't in relationships. And Pisces placements, y'all be in relationships when you're not in relationships. So let's just be honest, right? So like even just letting go of the concept of that, right, could be really healthy and beneficial right now to strengthen the connection with our seventh chakra, so our crown chakra, which is the connection for us in spirit, right? In order to give birth to what we actually want, right? The concept of what we think we want may not it feels like a coping mechanism, almost like a safety, right? Where it's like, this is mine. If I hold on to this, no one can get this, and this is mine. But like, you're gonna have to let it go at some point. You're gonna have to use the bathroom. You're gonna have to take a shower. You're gonna have to do something. And rather than when you put it down to go do something, having all this anxiety and worry about it, like, starting to loosen your grip on the things that you feel like you've tightened your grip on recently will suit you very well, and will actually, potentially flow to what it is that you, not even potentially, it will flow to what is for you. It's the fear. It's almost like if you are trying to control something or someone at this time of your life, you're going to push them away. Like, you're literally, because you're forcing something, But the thing is, that's even more important, I think, for y'all to hear is, like, you're also disconnecting yourself from source in that process, because it's like not trusting. If you're trying to hold on to something or control something, it's like you're not trusting that what is innately for you will be for you. So then that's shutting you off to all of the things that you want to do, because it's right there. It's like literally right there. It's like, yo, let this concept go, and then boom, like, what you want is right here. What's actually for you is right here for you to generate within yourself and for it to be surrounded by you. Or it's like, yeah. So, what is the self-care for Pisces and Pisces placements? Spending time with animals and dancing. Oh, cute. What else? Okay, so there's a card that came out that says you are seeing this situation accurately, but it came up in reversed. So what it feels like is like you innately know what situation this is. Whoever's listening, like, you know what this situation is, but you're choosing not to see it. You're choosing to look away from it. Like, you're seeing it accurately, but you're choosing to look away from it. But the moon's in this card, and the moon's here tonight, so don't sever your connection. Don't sever your connection with yourself, not for nobody, not for anybody, no matter how much you might think that you aren't or that you won't. It's coming up, so just trust. There's so much beauty waiting on the other side. So, yeah, that was doing the readings for everybody. I hope that suited y'all needs. I feel like I don't even know how long or short that was. So I'm going to drink some tea and water about it. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast about what you want and what you need. I hope that it was a good amount of reflecting, as well as a platform to put action forth to the things that we all need to put action forth. And I wish that for all of us, we all deserve it. We all deserve it. No matter what we think we might not, we do. So, yeah. Have some compassion tea for yourself. I just want to take a moment and say that I finally got my peppermint tea. I really love that for me. For those of y'all that understand that statement. And I think everybody should have some compassion tea for themselves too. So that's all I got. Have a great day, and I will see you guys next week.